This is Your Anxiety Toolkit, episode number 104. Welcome to Your Anxiety Toolkit. I'm your host, Kimberly Quinlan. This podcast is fueled by three main goals. The first goal is to provide you with some extra tools to help you manage your anxiety. Second goal, to inspire you. Anxiety doesn't get to decide how you live your life. And number three, and I leave the best for last, is to provide you with one big, fat virtual hug. Because experiencing anxiety ain't easy. If that sounds good to you, let's go. Well, welcome back, everybody. I am beyond grateful to have this special time with you all. And once again, I'm just so honored that you're spending your precious time with me. I had a whole plan for today on what I was going to speak about, and I'm standing here, or I'm actually laying down, and it just came over me. I'm like, I don't want to talk about that right now. I don't want to talk about that right now. I want to just talk to you guys. So I'm just going to flow here and just speak my mind and share with you how I'm feeling. So, number one, what I think is so congruent with this sort of change of plan is this week's I Did a Hard Thing segment when I posted on the Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group, CBT School Campus. It's free. It's just for cool people who hang out and do hard things and are coming together to support each other as other people do hard things. I posted, tell me the hard thing you're doing and all the things. And what was really cool is we had an influx of people sharing their difficulties with pregnancy, which I'm sending my love out to all of you who are going through anything medical or anything, related to pain, physical discomfort, health and mental health, physical health in whatever form. So I'm sending you out all my love. And then there was another stream of people who were all responding to a social media post I made yesterday about a hard thing I was doing, which was chaperoning, oh my goodness, like what felt like 1,012,000 second graders. Well, it wasn't actually 1,012,000, but it felt like that. So I was so blessed to be able to chaperone my daughter, who's in the second grade, to her end of year field trip to the Museum of Tolerance in the dead center of Los Angeles. I posted about how this was surprisingly triggering for me. I just cannot tell you how much it shocked me. I signed up. I was so excited. And it was only a couple of days beforehand where I started to actually think like, wow, this is actually going to trigger me in many, many ways. Number one, in these buses, which are very different to the buses here in America than the ones I'm used to in Australia. Even though we drive on, we're driving on the different side of the road, that's not a big deal. But just the structure of school buses is much different. And oh my gosh, you guys, my brain, it just would not stop. It would not stop telling me of all the possible terrible scenarios, also going down into the middle of Los Angeles, which is usually totally fine. But for some reason, my brain went creative. And it was just exhausting. And even today, it's the next day and I'm exhausted. And that's why I was sitting here as I'm about to record this podcast. And I had it all planned. And I thought, you know what? You guys are exhausted. You guys are doing hard things every day. And let's just talk about that. Let's just talk about how hard it really is. Because anxiety, it's not just something that happens in your life. It's huge. Same for depression, same for grief, panic. All of these experiences we're having don't get enough attention, and we don't get celebrated or acknowledged enough for how hard they are on our body, how taxing it is on our body. and our mind and our whole experience of life. And I really want to slow this down today and really congratulate you guys and honor you guys for the little things that you're doing every day, showing up for your family, for yourself, for your job, for your school, whoever it may be, for your pets. It's huge. And I really, really, really want to put a spotlight on that just for a second. Okay, so this week's I Did a Hard Thing is from Hadass, and she says, I'm doing what you did the other day, chaperoning 3 busloads of kindergartners. I will survive. I'm doing it because I value these bonding moments with my child way more than my lame OCD fears, right? And that's it, right? Is that what we're doing when we have anxiety is we're going, okay, which one am I siding with here? Is it values, the thing that is important to me, or is it simply just the removal of fear? What do I want to do? What choices do I have? And which choice am I going to make? Now, there will be days where you'll choose the eradication of fear, and you're not alone there. That's totally okay. And I want to honor you too, because once again, I really want to highlight this is hard work, right? I know I often get on and I talk about it's a beautiful day to do hard things, and it always is a beautiful day to do hard things. But I want to emphasize that the hard thing can strip us raw, can break us down into a vulnerability that is so scary. No matter what you're dealing with, being stripped down and having to face vulnerability and raw fear is so much, right? So I want to ask you a couple of questions. Number one, are you judging yourself? Because I noticed yesterday as I was bumping along at a snail's pace on the 405 and the 101, which are totally congested highways here in Los Angeles, I remember judging myself and noticing that I was thinking, Kimberly, you're a therapist. You should be able to handle this, right? Or, this isn't so bad. Parents do this every day. There are millions of parents doing this every single day. And then I was really aware of wow, that's pretty heavy judgment. That's pretty heavy comparison right now, that I'm going to compare my hard thing with other people's hard thing. I'm going to belittle my hard thing, that hard moment I was having with other people, just because it's not hard for them, but that's something I might have ease doing, might be really hard for those people. Wow, I'm really going to do that? How is that helpful to me, right? So I'm going to ask you, are you judging yourself in any way, comparing yourself in any way to other people when you're doing the hard thing? And I think if we could actually reduce that, the load, that heavy weight of the hard thing would be much less, much, much less. The other thing I thought was really interesting, and I'm being completely transparent here, is a parent of one of the people in my daughter's classmates texted me this morning, and she said, I know you're a therapist, so you already know this, but I'm just hoping that you're doing a day of self-care because yesterday must have been exhausted, which was just such a kind, wonderful thing for somebody to send, right? Such a great gesture, a beautiful community, right? But the interesting thing was, I was like, wait a second, I talk about this stuff all the time. What is happening? How is it that I'm talking about everyone talking about self-care, but why am I pushing myself today? Why am I judging myself for being absolutely exhausted? Why don't I slow down today? What's stopping me? And then I thought, you know what? It's comparison again. I know that some of the parents probably went right back to their life and had a totally thought yesterday was just a totally easy day. And so they didn't need self-care, so why should I have self-care? And that's comparison too. And I go, oh my goodness. It's funny. It's funny how we can actually be really good in some areas, but then there are other areas where we struggle, and then we struggle in many areas related to that, right? We sort of spiral in that area. And so I want to highlight that for you because I wonder if your comparison and your judgment about your hard thing is actually preventing you from taking care of yourself when you've done a hard thing, right? I was talking with a client a couple of days ago, and we were talking about self-care and pleasure, and she was saying, if I take care of myself, then people won't support me as much because they'll see I'm supporting me, and I really need their support. I don't want them to stop supporting me. So I can't make it look like I'm being too kind to myself, too gentle on myself, right? Because they'll back off. And we talked about that, and I was like, is that really how it is? Could you maybe share with the people who support you and say, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to do these things because that would be the kind, gentle thing to do with myself. But when I do that, I don't want you to misunderstand that that means I don't need your help and I don't really appreciate your help, right? That's a conversation that she and I said we might want to have her engage in with her loved ones, right? And it's important that we look at what's getting in the way of us taking really good care of ourselves, right? Is it comparison? Is it judgment? Is it fear? Sometimes it's just the fear of being seen as lazy or, egotistical or, not hard worker. There's all of these societal stigmas around productivity, right? And I think that in and of itself is what causes us to wrestle with ourselves as we're doing the hard thing, right? I should be better. This should be easy. I should be over this already. I should know better. I've done this before, so it should be easy this time. And oh my goodness, that's just so much, right? So I want to highlight this with you all. I want to just check in with you all and ask for you to slow down and honor yourself every step of the way. Because if it's hard, it's hard. That's just the truth. Don't compare your hard to somebody else's easy. Don't compare their easy to your hard. It's super important. If you can, take some time, rest, get extra sleep, right? There's heaps of research. I did a podcast just a couple of weeks ago, the importance of sleep. Get extra sleep, right? Eat nourishing foods that make you feel really special. Make the call to the person who really supports you. Take the bath, read the book, close your eyes, stare at the roof, whatever you need. I hope that you honor where you're at, because the whole purpose of this podcast and the reason I redirected onto this topic is I want you to know that I see you and I see how hard you're working. Even though I might know you personally, I know how hard you're working. I know how hard it is to ride that panic attack out. I know how hard it is to feel those feelings so heavy in your heart. And I want you to feel seen and heard by this community, right? I want you to honor and know that you deserve to be honored. Okay? So that's all I really have to say. Just give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling. Give yourself permission to have a hard time sometimes. Give yourself a permission for the struggle, right? It's okay. We're all there doing the same thing, okay? Okay, so I'm just going to leave it at that. All I'm going to say in addition to that is I love you guys so much. And I'm putting my hand on my heart for you right now. All right. See you next week. Please note that this podcast or any other resources from cbtschool.com should not replace professional mental health care. If you feel you would benefit, please reach out to a provider in your area. Have a wonderful day and thank you for supporting cbtschool.com.